Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. Just trying to get some questions in before we start a little bit of training. I received a dispatcher agreement from a carrier. I think it's somebody that someone may know, but it came through my email. When they go to the website, they fill out the carrier services. They didn't do the profile, but they fill out the carrier services, and then it comes back and sends an email to the Exodus email. This person has, I think, 3 dry vans. I'm going to give him a call so you guys can hear what's going on with him. Any questions from anyone? Anyone's having any issues with navigating with the website, the training portal? Any issues with techniques as far as going for carriers? It's a quiet morning today. I know we got this this COVID-19 thing going on, but no one has any questions. The process is kind of a slow process at this point because of the carriers. Some carriers are shutting down. Others are taking cheap freight, I guess you would say. But all the while, even through a recession and through a virus pandemic, if you will, things are still moving. The transportation industry is still recession proof. So what techniques and strategies as dispatchers can we provide to the carriers, with our knowledge or what we've gained or starting to gain from brokers and shippers and the industry as a whole? How can we position ourselves to find good loads for our carriers? So what are some questions that you guys may have as far as the process, as far as communicating, and also too, who has a carrier? Does someone have a carrier that they're looking for a load for, or is everyone who is tuned in right now as we speak still in the phase of looking for a carrier?
Mr. Charles?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Miss Ruth.
Hi, Miss Ruth. Were you the one that I gave the carrier to?
Yes. And my question is, how long do you keep communicating when they're saying, okay, your agreement looks good, but I haven't had time to fill it out? How long do you keep on communicating with that carrier?
Okay, so what you're referring to is once you break the ice initially with the carrier, then the next thing will be follow-up. So the follow-up is, when I used to do it like a long time ago, as far as really into dispatching like I used to, I would do about 2 follow-ups and spread them every 2 to 3 days. So within a week's time, I would have done 2 follow-ups. At that point, if I can't get any traction or any feedback from that carrier after 2 or 3 days, then I'll just move on to the next person. Now, what was that guy's name? That was Antonio, right? White?
That
Antonio?
is correct.
Yeah. So when I was conversating with him, everything seemed, and he had a reefer. I got his information right here. I'm looking at it now.
Uh-huh.
So he needs the loads. He just seemed to have a problem filling out the dispatcher agreement, apparently.
Yes.
And you sent him your dispatcher agreement?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I would just move on, just put him on the back burner, move on to the next going after the next carrier, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and just sit still and wait for him. You know, you want to continue to try to go after, other carriers. But yeah, that follow-up process, because here's my theory on this. Like, if a carrier really wants your service, they're going to do whatever they can to get it, right? So if all the steps they need to fill out it as soon as possible. Case in point, here's an email from, and I wasn't even expecting this. It just came across 3 days ago, well, on the 28th of April. I got it from some dispatcher, some carrier, Dale's Trucking. He filled it out online, because this is the email from my Epic Builder on my website. When a carrier fills out, and you guys will get to this point as well too, when the carrier fills out an online agreement in whatever form on whatever website platform that you're using, and you have a form that they fill out that it automatically sends an email alert to you. This particular carrier filled out the dispatch. Now, he did not finish the profile, and I've been communicating with him, waiting on the profile, because I'm not going to proceed forward until I get everything that I need. So, but he filled out the dispatcher agreement, signed it, and hit submit. And here it is right here. Here's his signature right here. So he's doing all that. Now, I had a little dialogue with him this past Tuesday. I said, what equipment type do you have? And I'm still missing a copy of your MC authority letter W-9. Thank you. He replied, here you go, drive-in. So he gave me a copy of his MC authority letter and W-9. Then I said, thank you. I also need a profile completed so that I may know how you'd like to run. Thank you. I haven't heard anything from him since. And that was the 29th. Today is the 3rd. So either he's found the load, which is fine by me, but if I'm going to be a dispatcher, I need all the tools in front of me that I need in order to dispatch for you, Mr. Carrier, effectively. So if you're not going to provide that, I can't provide my service. Now, I can provide a service, but I don't want to be chasing down a carrier just to get some simple stuff that I need from them that I could have gotten from them up front. It just defeats the purpose. So, but as far as you, Miss Ruth, yeah, I would just move on to the next carrier and go from there. So I think this person has 3 drive-ins, because I looked up their here's their insurance information, and then I looked up their DOT number, I believe, or MC number, and I think I looked at that directory for the name of the company. So that's how I did my research. So you guys have tools in the back office that you can use. No, I'm not dispatching, again, Mike. You guys have tools that you can use in the back office, namely DAT directory. I'm going to go to DAT and show you. So I got the name of that person's company, and right here. So I looked up the information. It turns out that they had, I think, 3 drive-ins. So that would be ideal for a dispatcher to have 3 for the same company, 3 equipment types. You can just run those and be pretty steady with those if you keep them consistent. So. Go to tools. I don't want to find a truck service. I want to go to DAT directory. So I'm going to DAT directory. Now you guys have access to this. Under search directory tab, you would go to research new businesses. Yeah, sub-dispatching, Mike. So the name of this person was, and they're based in Florida. Okay. So I looked them up, and I even put Florida in here so it gives me more information about them. This is what I came up with. This is the right people. This is their information, owner, operator. So he has 1 power unit and 5 drivers. Right, and then if you scroll down to the equipment types, it says here on the equipment types, he has 3 dry vans. So this is the same person that sent me the dispatcher agreement online through the web portal, and but neglected to send the profile. Now I can easily call him and get that information, like where you want to run, stuff like that, and then decide to say, okay, here you go, guys. I need to give this to one of the enrolled members of the platform. Before I do that, I do need to change the format of the platform, because I don't want to. The Dispatcher 101 training is under Exodus Logistics Learning Center. The Dispatcher 101 training is under that, but I need to create a separate entity for Exodus Dispatching Service. That way, they won't be a conflict of interest, because the Exodus Logistics Learning Center is a training portal, a training platform, and then the Exodus Dispatching is a dispatching business. So they need to be separate according to DOT and FMCSA. But that'll be easy. I can just create another LLC, EIN, and name it Exodus Dispatching Services, and then keep the Exodus Logistics Learning Center. And I'll take care of that within a week's time. I just want to make sure that everything is legitimate. So any questions on you guys' end? I want to do some Q&A a little bit. But your question, Miss Ruth, hopefully I helped you with that as far as how long you want to wait. Your follow-up, you don't want to waste too much time with follow-up on people who are either unsure that they need a dispatcher, or just wasting a dispatcher's time with not completing a dispatcher agreement. So, okay?
Yes, thank you.
And then I had asked if anyone have a carrier or waiting on the carrier. I think Miss Jackie said she was, correct? I had asked about, she said I am. Okay. Still looking. So what are you, can you unmute yourself, Miss Jacqueline? Are you able to?
Hello?
Yes.
I've been looking on the load boards, and I do call, and I send them the information, and I follow up with them. But it's like it goes dead after that. Like I don't hear nothing back from them.
Okay. And to add insult to injury, it could be also too what we're going through right now in this state of the country with this whole pandemic thing as well. But in spite of that, things are still moving. I mean, things are still being shipped from shippers to receivers. The transportation industry is still moving because people are complaining about brokers and the rates and stuff being low, and that may or may not be true, but things are still moving nonetheless. So the carriers may not want to come off, since the rates are low, they may not be willing to come off of paying a dispatcher a certain percentage, unless it's a carrier who's brand new, just got into the industry and need actually assistance. Now, are you looking on the FMCSA registry for new carriers, or are you going to the Truckers Path truck search feature for new carriers, or I mean not new carriers, but just carriers in general? on the truck search?
Yeah, I haven't tried the FMCA. I haven't tried that one.
Okay, do you remember how to get there? I can show you if you do not. So
because I always just went through the either the 123 load board or the DAT.
So your 123 load board, you have the truck feature in there. You have a which 123 load board? Are you using the one on this platform, or do you have your own?
Oh no, on your platform.
Okay, so the FMCSA registry. Let's just put in a number, and let's go up here to licensing, and we go to FMCSA register. You with me so far?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna hit go. And at first glance, I'm gonna select the top one, PDF report. At first glance, it's kind of hard to interpret what this 62-page FMCSA document is. But if you look through, like, these are all the name changes of companies. Where we need to focus, yeah, Mike says right now it's very slow in general, so don't get discouraged, people. Yeah, I agree. In this section here, it's 62 pages, but in this section here, there is an area called, you have non-fitness and fitness areas. That's the jargon that's used for the SAFER website, because SAFER is an acronym. So I'll show you what that means here. SAFER website. Safety and Fitness Electronic Record System. That's what SAFER is. And it's FMCSA. So the fitness portion of it on this registry PDF section here, scroll down, we got people who's had their MCs or freight forward and revoked. Gigi, welcome, Gigi. Gigi says she's on finally. Okay, so we're going to scroll down and past we're not interested in those who had their FMCS or their MC revoked. We want those who have just gotten their MCs active and are brand new. Once you become brand new, you are entered into the registry, which is a database of various companies who've gotten their authorities. So I'm on page 2262. I'm just scrolling. I don't want to miss the beginning part of. So right here we got miscellaneous. We got transfers. I'm not interested in the transfers. Although, I mean, there is some interest in it, but right now I just want to give you an example of how to. And once we get to the area, okay, here is non-fitness. So, and non-fitness only means motor, common, and contracted carriers of household goods. Also, motor carriers of passengers, and then intrastate motor passengers, household good, freight forwarders, and household. So we're not interested in any of these. These are the different types of MC authorities that fall up under the non-fitness category of the SAFER website. Not any of these types of MC authorities meet the criteria that we're looking for. We're looking for common carriers, interstate authority holders, right? So non-fitness section we're not interested in. We want to go to the fitness section, which is right here, which is page 32. Okay, so fitness only. Motor, common carriers. Now remember the 4 categories of MC authorities for the owner-operators and the 2 categories of MC authorities for brokers. The 2 categories of MC authorities for brokers are the broker of property and broker of household goods. Okay, The 4 categories of MC authorities for the owner-operators, the truck drivers, the carriers are common carriers, contract carriers, passenger carriers, and household goods, HHG. Of those 4, the one that we focus on for beginner dispatchers, obviously, well, not obviously, but is common carriers, because they can pretty much go anywhere. They can touch any state. So now within the common carrier category, we want the interstate subcategory of that common carrier, because you got 2 types. You got interstate and intrastate. So can anybody explain what's the difference between interstate and intrastate common carrier authorities?
Intrastate is only in the state, and interstate is all 48 states.
Exactly. That's Miss Ruth, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, so we're looking for common carriers, interstate, of property except household goods, right? So any of property except household goods. So those are the types that we're going to focus on. So right here, now you get into the meat of this, and this is just a registry of data and this was released on May 1st. So 2 days ago, people who just recently got their authorities filed and documented in the registry of FMCSA through the SAFER website, okay? So FF of freight forwarders, we're not interested in freight forwarders right now. We are beginner dispatchers, basic level dispatchers. So we're going to scroll down past the FF category. Now we are in so freight forwarders. Now we got MCs. So this person filed on the 28th. I'm not sure how often the FMCSA updates their registry. I would say at least, if I was them, because you got people applying for authorities all the time. If I was the FMCSA, it would just make sense to me. Let it build up to so many people who gotten their authorities active, and then just put everybody in at one time. So maybe once every 2 weeks, once a quarter, once a month, something like that. But I'm not sure exactly. I would have to research that, look it up. So this is what we're looking for. Interstate common carrier except household goods, okay? So if you come across a carrier in this category of that type, then you could do a little further research and look up their information to see, you know, if they are one of the 3 categories that we as beginner dispatchers target when we're going after carriers. And those are the dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers, right? Those are the beginner level carriers, equipment types that we focus, because those are the ones that are out there the most prevalently. The other ones, straight trucks, hot shots, sprinter vans, things like that. Not saying stray away from them, but starting out, just get your feet wet with the most often used equipment types for beginners. And then as you gain more experience, you may come across brokers who only wants hot shots or straight trucks. Then you have the experience of dealing with the other ones to go ahead and transition into those. So, so this one here is a good one. Right here. Interstate common. So now we can take this data, and they applied on the 28th of April. Now they filed on the 28th of April, right? So we may have to look for someone who filed a little bit earlier than that, because they filed on the 28th of April. It doesn't necessarily mean that their authority has become active, because it takes time. You know, they still have to go through, making sure their insurance is good, making sure the truck is okay. They have steps and hoops to go through when applying for an MC authority. You still have to do other things as well. So Mike says exactly. So what we would do is, I would say It's May 3rd. So let's look at someone who applied maybe a few months back. They filed a few months back. So here's one, Interstate, and he filed on January 14th. So that seems like a reasonable amount of time to say, okay, maybe he's gotten a response whether it's active or not. So maybe we'll look that person up. So you got to keep that in mind too. So once we have all the understanding of it and the necessary information that we need, we can cross-reference with one of the ones we choose with our other resource, let's say DAT Trucker's Edge. So let's go back to DAT Trucker's Edge and do the DAT directory. And this is just more of a drawn out way, but you're doing all the work first, getting it out the way, and then once you finally make that call, you already know that this person has met all the criteria for you as a dispatcher. So now let's go use this DAT directory and go back to here, and I think we chose January 14th. So this person here, I'm going to put the name of the company in the search criteria, the Moving Hog LLC, and they were based in Texas. So I'm going to they're not even set up yet. Let's go back to the DAT directory. Let's do another search. Carrier, Austin, literally the city that they were in, literally Austin, Texas. And there could be a reason why that person Okay, Mike said the list updates every few weeks. There's your answer. We got someone. Okay. So the list updates every few weeks. So let's go to let's see another one. Let's see. So that's good to know every few weeks that people are applying. Now, I'm not sure if it's every few weeks that the FMCSA is updating their registry with people who filed, which probably is true because right there it says they filed, that this is the filed date column. So it's not necessarily the date that they become active. It's just the date that they filed and were notated in the FMCSA registry as a new applicant. That's probably how you would translate that. Yeah. So this is the area. Now we got brokers too, but interstate, common, except household goods will be the key to look. And then you would cross-reference. You would cross-reference the information here. So let's go back up to, let me do this too. Let's go back up to that January 14th one and see why right here. The Moving Hawk. So let's look at their MC in Safer and see what's going on with them. See, they're not active. Let's look up by name. So if it doesn't show anything yet, that means that they're not even the Moving Hawk. What was called the Moving Hawk LLC, I believe. Yeah. And this company may not be There we go, Austin, Texas. Movie Hall LLC. So they're not authorized yet. See, 1 mile in 2019, March. So they're still waiting to become active, it looks like, because here's their MCS 150 form where they actually applied March 1st, April, May. So that's 2 months. So they're probably still in the waiting stage.
Check the insurance.
Yes. Novella said the person I'm waiting for on her new authority just became active. Okay, so Novella, what equipment type is that person? And where are they looking to go? I mean, have you gotten all the information? Have you actually got a dispatch agreement back from that person? Because they're brand spanking new. So, okay, so their authorities become active. So how do you know their authority became active? If have they reached out to you and told you, because you don't have a dispatch agreement back from them, or are you keeping the lines of communication open between you and them? Okay, wait on a comment. Let's see what she says. Okay, you check the company snapshot. So, is it okay for us to, what's the name of the company? Can we check it right here? They're a dry van company. They just became active. Okay, that's fine. And then, are you going to try to get that dispatch agreement from them to move loads for them? Okay, good, good. And good luck with that. So this company that we was looking at in the registry is not authorized. Let's look at the Trucking Logistics DBA TLC. Let's look at them. They're in Richmond. They're not far from me. About 2 hours from me, hour and a half. Richmond, Virginia. This is an MC number.
Hey, girl. You okay?
Trucking Logistics Company. So I'm going to look them up.
Hey, Doc, I just got in, trying to figure out what you got going on.
We were just looking at. I had asked a question for a dispatcher. What are some of the ways where they're looking for carriers? And they were saying Truckers Path and 123 Low Board, and I just referenced the also the FMCSA registry. Also.
How far can you go back on that FMCSA registry? As far as weeks or months, you know, as far as authority, meaning that someone that probably applied 30 days ago, they're probably, you know, good to go or something maybe, or, you know.
Yeah, because they updated, Mike said they updated every, I think he said every few weeks. And you're right too, Robert, that a person may have applied for it, they may have filed, the date of their filing may not necessarily reflect the day that they become active, because they still have to wait for certain things that still have to come across. The main thing is being insurance. You know, before you go active, you got to have insurance. So they still may be waiting for insurance quotes, prices, things like that. So just because you see these, because these dates right here are the dates that, if I scroll back up to the very top, under Well, not the very top, but under fitness, yeah, Mike says 30 to 60 days from the date they file. So under fitness and now, so this is right here, it says file. So this is their file date. So if they, like for example, this person, if they filed on April 27th, then their authority may not come active until July, or maybe or the end of July, close to August. So that's why if we go back to a few months back, because this is May, so 3 months, 1 to 2 months prior to that, you know, May is March. So someone who may have filed in March, we could look for a file date 2 months ago to see and if that person's authority has become active now. So I looked at one in January, which was 4 months ago. Well, this person right here back in March, 2 months ago. So we can see if this person, they filed on this date and they may have met all the requirements to become active. You just got to research and see. And this is just a route to take if someone is looking for a brand new carrier to start with. So DOT and MC didn't come up with anything, so I'm going to put the name of the company out of Olive Branch, Mississippi. So we'll go here and put the name. So you got 3 options to decide. There you go. So even them, they still haven't gotten authorized yet. So something, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing as to why their operating status is not authorized yet. It could be that they're still waiting on insurance to clear, or anything like that. So, but when you do see not authorized, of course, then they're not a candidate, obviously, to call because their authority is not active, you know, for whatever reason, good or bad. So you just move on to the next one. If you are going to use this methodology of trying to go after new carriers. So if you're going to use the other methodology.
Hey, so after they get their authorization to run, how soon after that will they come in and do the audit?
It actually varies, Robert. It varies, but it shouldn't be too long. It shouldn't be too long. Gigi asks, would you even call that one because they have 4 trucks? I would say, yeah, anything 5 or less. But if you are a brand new dispatcher, and this is a brand new company with 4 trucks, brand new dispatchers, I would recommend 1 truck, maybe 2 truck companies at the most. If you feel that you can handle, you know who you are, you know the type of person you are, and whether you can take on having a trucking company, an owner operator with more than 3 to 5 assets or more than, trucks, then that's something that you would consider, if you're up to that challenge. But I would, I would start off with 1 as a new dispatcher, get your feet wet, learn the process of booking the loads with the brokers, going through that whole litany and dialogue with the broker, getting the carrier package, filling that out, understanding that process, understanding the intricacies of that. Same thing with the rate confirmation. Once you get the carrier packet approved with the broker, you're going to get the rate confirmation, finding out everything with that, get that process, and then do that with that 1 carrier over and over again, because once you do it over and over again, you're going to notice that it's the same process, it's just different brokers and carriers. So Gigi asked Mike, how long have you been doing this, Mike? Gigi asked you that question. Okay, so increase. Mike says, Charles taught me last year. So increase logistics, Novella. Right there in Stonebridge, one. So there's their information. One driver, one truck, one power unit. And you said they were a drive-in, so now you're keeping up with the dispatcher agreement process. So they're a drive-in. They're in Stockbridge, Georgia. So here's an idea. Here's a way to kind of, I don't want to say bait them, but kind of get them interested by you showing them that you know how to find loads for them. Is why not look for a load in that area for that equipment type, just to get your feet wet to see what's available out there. So when you do talk to them, you say, hey, you know, I know you have a drive-in, you're based over in Georgia, Stonebridge. I don't know how far Stonebridge is from Atlanta. We can actually, I'm sorry, not Stonebridge, Stockbridge. I keep mispronouncing it. Stockbridge. We could easily Google that, because Atlanta is of course, a major area. Look at that, 30 miles or 25 miles, 30 minutes. So they can always deadhead up to Atlanta to grab something. So we can basically use Atlanta as a main hub for them to pick up loads, right? Atlanta, Georgia, for a drive-in. And this is, for those who don't know, this is the Internet Truck Stop Load Board. And we're doing a quick search right now, a quick load search as opposed to the new search feature over here. So 436 loads for a drive-in coming out of the Atlanta area. There has to be something available for that person, right? 436. I'm going to group them in, let's say, 200. Since it's 436, I'm going to do the max, and then scroll down a little bit, and then put it in order. Expenses, fuels, miles, weight, pay, and rate. So somebody was messing with my fields in here, obviously, because they put the rate way over here. We could move this back over here, but rate is right here. So we click rate, what they're paying. So now 2,800, but that's not a good one right there. This is paying this. So now I gotta go in and see who's bothering the columns. I don't. Anyway, so the rate is over here now apparently. So 2,800 for 2,000 miles. That's definitely not a good cents per mile. But you would take the rate and put it into the mileage and get your cents per mile money, or you could even negotiate with the broker to get a rate a little bit higher. So any questions about that, Novella? So that would be a good starting point for you to show them that you're capable of assisting them. You know, be another set. You could be another set of eyes for them while they're focusing on driving. You can focus on their next load, their backhaul, and everything like that. So any questions? And again, that's the basics, right? That's where we want to continue to establish a basic level foundational understanding, because once we master the basics, then we become, we'll become experts. But we got to get the basics down first, right? The basics of understanding how to get the carriers or convincing the carriers to say, yeah, your service is needed by me in order to keep me running and profitable. And then your basics of how to understand how to do that as far as booking the loads. So any other questions about that? Oh yeah, Jacqueline we were talking about her carrier and using the FMCSA registry to go after them, in addition to 123 and the truck search feature on Truckers Path. So Jacqueline, are you considering using the FMCSA registry for new carriers? These are new registered carriers. So their file dates may be like April, February, March, but you have to consider when you're going that route on FMCSA, you have to consider that it takes some time, maybe 30 to 60 days, for the authority to actually go from being filed to being active, because there's other steps that need to be done. Namely, the insurance has to get okayed, because no authority is going to be active without a truck being insured. So that's important. Okay, what else we got going on here? I got to figure out how in the world this one just popped in. So 700 miles at 366. That's almost $2 a mile right there. So going from Gainesville, Georgia to Raleigh, North Carolina North, almost at $2 a mile. Now the rates are kind of low, but that's almost doable. So you do possibly have some good loads. You gotta cross-reference the rate that the load is paying against the loaded miles. So, and that's a skill set that comes over time. So if we scroll down, we look at the rates, which are here now. So 374, 6, 7. That's a little almost at $2 a mile. 296 at 500. That's almost $2 a mile. So it appears that the rates are around between $1.75 and $2 a mile for a dry van in that area. That's what it appears to be. So now, in order to help answer that question, let's see what trend lines say about that. So the national rates for a dry van, which is what Novella's increased logistics company. So she's down here in the Atlanta area, which is right about here. So it's $1.61 right now. So remember, this is a dynamic website, so it changes with the rates that's going across the board right now. So for a dry van, the national rates for a dry van in that area is $1.61. So that load we were looking at was above that. So drivers, the carriers have to understand that the rates are down you know, you may find some anomalies and find some good rates. So yeah, and Robert makes a good point. You always want to ask for, that's the art of the negotiation. You ask for more than the posted rate, because the brokers have enough money to wiggle. They have enough wiggle room. So let's take you in the day of the life of a broker. So let's say I'm a broker and Jacqueline, or whose carrier was this? Novella, was calling me about a load. So, and she wanted to head north, so from Atlanta. So we could look through here, or we could just filter the load to somewhere in the northern states. So she's out of Atlanta, and we can just select some states north of Georgia. So we can say South Carolina, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia. Let's go along to West Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Jersey. We don't want to go too far, like to the New York area, the boroughs, because we want to avoid some tolls. So we want to go north, but not too far north, and maybe over to the Midwest. So let's do that. Well, let's not choose that date. Let's see, Virginia, let's do the whole region here and the whole Midwest region. Select that and then update that. So now we got 102. We still got the rates, just to make sure. So you call me on this load right here going from Beaufort, Georgia, which is 31 miles from the Atlanta area to Mayfield, Ohio. And this is Novella, the dispatcher, calling me. So you would try to negotiate this maybe up to 1,000 or even 1,100. And let's say I gave it to you for 1,100, right? Because I had enough. I got the load sold to me by my customer, gave me that load for 15, right? Which is probably, it's usually the case. It's usually marked off a certain percentage from the broker down to the carrier. So I may have originally got the load for 15. I took off 600 because I want to make 600 off the load as a broker, and then sell it for 900. But you got me back up to 1,100, so I lost an extra 200. So I made only, instead of 600, I made 400 off the load. Now as a broker, I still made a good amount, and that's just one load. One load as a broker. So maybe, say I got 10 loads from my customer as a broker, and I'm selling each of those for 900 off of a $1,500 load. So I'm making a $600 profit times 10. That's $6,000 for my shipper. But as a dispatcher, you want to try to get that up. So 1,100 at 519. So now you're looking more, that load is looking more attractive for your carrier to pick up. And it's only 39,000 pounds. 53 footer is $2.12 a mile, which is above the national average cents per mile for that area. So you just did pretty good there. But you have to build to that point where you're able to get the broker to say, yeah, I got an empty truck right now that's about 30 miles from you. We can pick that load up today, which is a weekend. It's the 3rd, right here. So we're going to the details of that load. Right. So here's the details of the load. It picks up today, the 3rd, which is the 3rd, and it delivers Tuesday. So van or reefer, 39,000 pounds, is going 700. So look at the lie. Look at the lie. We went off the practical miles from Georgia to Mayfield, Ohio, right? That's another good thing about dispatching too. You want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row as far as understanding the details of the load. It said, so 519 and 706.622. I have no idea what that. Why is that such a long number? I don't get it, but that's the gains. Like Mike said, that's the gains brokers play. So why is it? Let's say it's 706 or 600. Let's Google that distance, the actual zip to zip. So we got Beaufort, Georgia, to Mayfield Village, Ohio. Look at that. That's 719. So now that changes the game because it's 519. That's a 200-mile. 519 and 719. That's a 200-mile difference. So the question becomes, why did the broker lie about the mileage there, the distance? So now this is saying 706.6. So I'm going to go with the city limit to city limit, 719. So now if you negotiate it at $1,100, 719, now you're dropping back into that. Now you're below that national average, because now you got when you first looked at the load, you were under the impression of it was 519 miles. But when you got the real miles, 719, it took you below the national average for that load. So as a dispatcher, that's something that you would want to be mindful of. So if you look at other loads and you see similar kind of things here, let's look at this one here. So we got the practical miles, 421, picks up on, and that's a ways away, the 27th of May, which is like a little over 3 weeks away. So it's 421 practical, but the actual miles is 407. The commodity is paper products. It's a van or reefer, dry and odor free. They basically just want you to wash it out. Yes, as a dispatcher, you want to pay attention to details, because when you communicate this data back to your carrier, you want to be as accurate as you possibly can be based off of the information you receive. That's why when you talk to brokers, you have a cheat sheet that you can follow too, that's in the back office. Right, till you get booking the loads down pat. But yeah, there are certain questions, there's certain standard questions you want to ask. You know, what's the commodity? What's the loaded miles? Because the loaded miles, when you ask a broker, the loaded miles is when the time your carrier picks that load up from the shipper to the time they deliver it to the receiver, irregardless of how many stops that is. The cheat sheet will be under the forms, and it should be under loads. I'm sorry, forms and documents in the back office. I'm going there now. Right here. Load details cheat sheet. And it's pretty generic. It's pretty organic. It's just ask some of the basic questions. You know, let's open it up. Pretty generic. And it's kind of a fill in the blank of what the posted. It's basically taking the load details, mimicking that as a template, and then filling in the blanks. Like on this, if I was your carrier and Novella, you were my dispatcher, I would want to know certain things as a carrier, so I'll be able to know if I can pick that load up. Like, what's the commodity? What's the weight? You know, what's the pickup dates and times? What's the delivery dates and times? How many stops are there on the load? 0 stops, so it's just a 1 and 1. When it says 0 stops, that means there are no extra stops. It's just a one-on-one, picking up in Alpharetta and going to Knightdale, North Carolina. Okay? What's the loaded miles? The loaded miles, from the time that you are loaded at the shipper to the time that you deliver to the receiver. That's the loaded miles. So in this case, it's 407. So now 407, and you're saying, okay, my carrier says he wants at least $2 a mile. Obviously, 407 at 775 is less than $2 a mile, right? 775 at 407, that's $1.90. So what you'll probably do is go up to $8.50. Let's say $8.50. $8.50 at 407. So it's 208, 209, 210. Right? So what other way you could figure that out is, if you know your carrier wants $2 a mile, you just take the loaded miles and multiply that by the amount that your carrier wants per mile. So times 2. And that'll be your negotiating number. Now, of course, you want to bump that up, let's say 825. You want to, like, nice quarter type numbers, 825, 850, 875, 900. So the next higher number, quarter number up is 825. So you'll say, well, I want 825. So that's how you would negotiate to get up to the cents per mile that your carrier wants as a negotiating bargaining chip. But yes, Gigi and Novella, yes, there's something that you probably, you want to pay attention to the load details when you're dealing with load. So another one here we're using also, let's look at, and this is Meadowlark. That's a brokerage. That's the name of the brokerage. Let's look at another one here. This one here. So we got Practical Miles from Gainesville. This is a drive-in from Gainesville to Calabash, North Carolina. And then there's nothing for loaded miles. So by nothing being there, that would be a question that you would ask. What's the loaded miles? And this one, if your driver is no-touch freight, this is a driver assist. So the driver will have to assist at delivery. Picks up at 1900, so 7 o'clock at night. So he has a pickup time tonight. Sunday night at 7 is picking up, and driver assist. So your driver's going to be getting out the truck helping. I'm not sure if he's assisting with loading and unloading, or it's just unloading. That would be a question you would ask the broker. Yep. So that's one. So based off of this load details, let's do a little analysis here. Based off of this load details and what's missing here, what are some of the questions we would ask about this load to a broker from a dispatcher's perspective? So if you look at each load, you would have a naked eye. You say, okay, what are some of the questions I'm going to ask as a dispatcher to a broker? For my carrier, I'm the dispatcher. I'm representing my carrier when I call the broker. So what would be some questions based off of this posted load? And let's say I'm the carrier and I want $2 a mile. So what would be the first thing that I would ask for? I see that the distance, the loaded miles, is not listed. So let's assume that the loaded miles is the same as practical miles. I'm the carrier, I want $2 a mile. So the first thing I'm going to try to negotiate is what? What number like in quarters, like 700, 725. What's the next number? 750, right? 750, 800, 775, 800. So Mike jumped to 950. So Mike is doing the negotiate thing. I know what he's doing. He's going high, and then the broker's going to come low, and he's going to meet you in the middle. Right. Right. Yeah, we're looking. Yeah, our carrier wants. We're looking at 950 for this load. I know it's posted for 700, but we can do it. We can do it. This is for Miss Ruth. The load is posted for 700, Mr. Broker. We can do it for 950. We're able to do it for 950. I got an empty truck right now over in Gainesville, about 30 miles from Gainesville, ready to roll. We can pick up at, because you've read the details, so now you're talking to the broker as if you've studied the details. We can pick up at 7 p.m. or 1900 tonight, and our driver is willing to assist. Will that assist be only on delivery, or is it pickup? So now, if they say, depending on how they answer that question, you can negotiate even more, because normally your driver doesn't do touch freight. So by them touching freight, that gives you a bargaining chip, because if you're going to be getting out the truck doing work, then he needs to be paid for that. So that 950 is actually not a bad. It should actually be 1,000, because your driver who normally does not touch freight, they want them to help them on this load at delivery. Driver assist at delivery. So not at pickup, just at delivery. So if I'm going to work, it's going to take about 2 hours to get that stuff off the truck, right? Depending on if it's a full truckload. It is a truckload. It doesn't have the commodity. It doesn't have the weight. But my driver wants $100 an hour. So 2 hours plus the 700, that's 9. So that 950 doesn't seem so bad what Mike just put down now, right? So Mike knew what he was talking about, knew what he was thinking when he did that. So your driver so these are some of the things based off of you reading the load, the details of the load, and you saying, okay, well, my carrier doesn't normally do that. So you call your carrier and say, hey, I got a load here, but it has a driver assist at delivery. Well, if I'm going to get out the truck, I want $100 an hour. If it's a full truckload, I know it's going to be at least 2 hours, so that's $200. The load is posted for 700 on carrier. Okay, well, let's do 1,000 or 950. You know, what's the commodity, by the way? Well, it doesn't say. I need to call the broker back and get that information from them. So I'll let you know. What's the weight? Is it within our weight according to our profile? You see what I'm saying? So that's another blank. So the commodity was not listed on this one. The weight was not listed on this one. So these are questions that you would. The loaded miles was not listed on that, nor the number of stops is. It's a 1 and 1, 0 stops. So there you go. So Darwa asks, what's the commodity? The commodity is what is actually being hauled in that trailer. What are they hauling? Are they hauling dry goods, general freight, produce? Because it says van or reefer. VR means van or reefer. So load details are essential for a dispatcher to communicate to their carrier and can be used as a bargaining chip to get more money for your carrier, thus get more money for you for your, as far as your percentage. So yeah, that was a question for broker. Yeah, what's the commodity? What is expected of the driver to assist with? Right. So they're assisting with now if they want them to fully offload that, then let's do another one as an example. Let's see this one. Now remember, we're using Novella's increased logistics company's drive-in equipment type as a template, as an example. So this is $400 practical miles. So if you scroll down to the load details, we got pickup, quantity 1, van or reefer. So no commodities, no distance, no load tracking required. So nothing in special instructions. So now, and I'm the carrier, I'm increased logistics. I want at least $2 a mile. So where do we start as far as when we talk to the broker? What are we asking for? What are some details? Right. So Mike said for that last example on the driver assist at delivery, and if that's the case, Mike, then it's even more money because most of the time they want driver to use pallet jack because receiver doesn't have a loading dock. So if that's the case, that means that they're going to pallet jack it either to the tail of the truck, and they're going to come with a forklift, or most trailers don't have a lift gate on them, but if you do, then you can charge a lift gate rate included in the rate. But in this case, it's probably going to be, if there's no loading dock, they're gonna pallet jack it to the edge of the trailer, and the receiver's gonna come with a forklift to take it off at the edge. So imagine if you got a full truckload of palletized 500-pound palletized commodities. So you're pushing your carrier's pushing 500 pounds, and you can get about 24 to 26 pallets, depending on the size of the pallets, into a dry-van trailer. So your carrier is going to spend time pulling a pallet jack to the edge of the trailer. Now the first two are easy because they're right at the edge, so you get those two off with the forklift. But you got to come in, jack that up, turn it around, and push it to the edge. Drop the pallet jack, pull it out, let them grab it with the forklift. While they're doing that, you're going to get the other one. So your carrier is doing more work. So that 200, at least 200 for labor, I would say between 200 to 500 now. Yeah, so yeah, it's like you charging them a lumper fee because you're offloading. So you're doing your own lumper, essentially. So now with this example, Noonan, Georgia to Jonesville, South Carolina, let's assume that the loaded miles and the practical miles are the same because it was not listed here. So, and the carrier wants $2 a mile. So the amount that they're asking for will be what? 234 times $2 a mile, 468. So let's say 500. So now that'll put us over that $2 a mile mark for this particular load. $213. So good starting point. Right. Oh yeah, Igloo is terrible, Mike. Yes. So what are some of the other things that we're asking for? Again, some of this stuff repeats itself as far as load, asking the broker for details of the load, because we always want to get as much details about a load so when we communicate it to our carrier, they'll have enough information to make an informed decision as to whether to take the load. That's the whole purpose and point of dispatching. You're the middle person. You're getting data from the broker to relay it to your carrier. So on this load, we want to know, we assume that the practical miles and the loaded miles are the same, so we got that information. We need pickup dates and times. It says 5/4, which is Monday early. It could be an early morning, like an AM pickup, like 6 a.m., so on and so forth. Robert says the all-in rate. That includes the rate, any lumpers, fuel surcharge, things like that. Gigi, are you referring to what Mike said about the 400? He was referring to the other example with all that labor offloading the pallet, or are you referring to this current load right here? You're referring to what Mike was saying about the previous, yeah, that labor for 400, because you're pushing, yeah, no pallets. So you're offloading, you're doing more work. And if you got a full truckload, see, Mike understands, so if Igloo has no pallets, then you're doing a lot of the work. You got to offload it. You may have to be using a hand truck, possibly. So it's just, so the more work that the driver has to do, the more labor, because the driver should just drive. But if the more labor that the driver does, then the more they should be compensated for that labor. The driver shouldn't have to do any labor. They should just drive. They should just pick a load up, get loaded at the shipper, drive that load to the receiver, and get offloaded. The extra driver assist, when a broker puts special instructions in that there needs to be driver assist at the at delivery, that should be a red flag for the dispatcher to charge more money, because who knows. That's why when you see driver assist at delivery, you have to, as a dispatcher, you want to ask, well, what does driver assist consist of? Do they need a pallet jack? Are they going to be putting pallets to the edge of the trailer and being offloaded with a forklift? Or do they need a hand truck to bring it down with a ramp? What does that entail? Because I need to let my driver know for us to decide, in order for us to decide whether we're going to take this this load or not. Is there a filter on any load boards to select no touch freight? I believe so, but normally it is a standard that it is no touch freight. That's why you see in special instructions where brokers say otherwise if there's going to be driver assist. So let's go to edit. Right here, to trailer options. Tarp, pallet exchange, hazmat team. So let's see. All right, so back to this next load here, this $400 load, 234. We're asking $500 because it's more than $2 a mile. But again, what are some of the other load details that we're going to ask about for this specific load so that we can share that with our carrier to make sure that they have an informed decision as to whether to take this load or not. Commodity, right? What's being hauled? Okay. What about weight? Because weight, because you want to make sure that the weight falls within the category of your carrier's profile. This is a drive-in equipment type. Right, trailer size is usually right. That's important because your carrier may have a 48 instead of a 53-foot trailer, and this is a full truckload, 53-foot full truckload. So your carrier doesn't meet the requirement. So that's important. Loaded miles. We assumed that the loaded miles was the same. What about the pickup? It said early, so now that being in parentheses, I would ask the question: well, how early? How early? Height's a good question, but height's a pretty standard. The height of the trailers, 13, I think it is. 13.6, 13.9. So there you go. So now you guys are catching on when you're looking at the load boards, getting an idea of some of the questions that you could potentially get clarity on. Now let's edit this. We did two or three dry vans. Let's look at a reefer. Okay, now we look at that reefer loader. This is a reefer equipment type. We did a couple with dry vans. That's fine, Gigi. Take your time. This is an ongoing platform. It's not a so many hours or days, weeks, or whatever. You stay in as long as you need to learn it. So here we have this is a reefer load. It's picking up tomorrow, going from Lula, Georgia to Toledo, Ohio, which is 600. It says it's 653 practical miles. So as far as a load details cheat sheet or a load details perspective from a dispatcher's point of view, there's a lot of blanks to be filled in. There's something that's here, but there's a lot of blanks to be filled in, right? So again, the carrier wants $2 a mile, right? At least, especially now. If you can get $2 a mile right now, that's fair, considering the rates are kind of crazy. But $2, let's assume, since it's not listed here, the loaded miles, let's just assume that this 653 is the loaded miles, or let's just Google Lula, Georgia to Toledo, Ohio, and see what 652. So 652, 53, around the same. So let's assume that's right. Gigi says ask for 1,300, so that's a good number. So 653 at $2 a mile, 1,306. So 1,325, 1,350, 1,350 is even good to get you over, right? So that's what you'll ask for. Now, what are some other details that you need before you can even start to negotiate the rate? Right, Mike says $2 a mile right now, you're winning. Yeah. Because remember the rates. Now we're dealing with reefers now, so let's go to reefers and look at the national rates for reefers. Yeah, so $2 a mile, we are winning because we were still in the Georgia area. It's $1.81. So that $2 a mile we're asking for, we are winning. So now, Gigi said, what's the temperature of the reefer load? Well, what's the commodity too? Like, is it, let's say it's produce, let's say it's something that's frozen goods. So what's the temperature, and whether that temperature is, obviously it's probably going to have to be continuous while the load is being transported from pickup to receiver. So let's say it's 0 degrees, -5, continuous. So that would be a question you ask. Because in the load detail, they didn't even put that in special instructions or special information or other equipment needs. And there you go. Very good, Miss Ruth. With reefer loads, you want to know how many picks and drops. In other words, how many shippers are you picking up from, and how many receivers are you delivering to? So how many stops on this one load or this lane? So from that 653 miles from Georgia to Toledo, Ohio, how many stops you're making in this run here? And you can make some pretty good ones. You can stop somewhere in Kentucky. You can stop in Cincinnati. You can, on your way up to Toledo. You can stop in Asheville. So you got several different stops. How much detention? Good question, Mike. How much is detention and TONU? So detention time, like on average, it'll kick in about what, maybe 2 to 3 hours. Then how much is it paying per hour after that? Because you're going to give them about 2 hours free, and then after that it's going to kick in. And then what about TONU? If you guys remember, what does TONU stand for? The truck order not used. So if the broker happens to call you, the dispatcher, while your carrier is on the way to the load and things like that, and you say, oh, by the way, that load got canceled. So now, okay, well, that's fine. I just want to, I need to invoice you TONU. Reefer loads almost always have detention. Yep, because you're sitting there waiting to get offloaded. It's more common with reefers than dry vans. You can get, you can get a dry van offloaded pretty quickly. With reefers, you got to be careful because your commodity is a little bit more sensitive, especially this perishable stuff and edible things like produce and food and stuff like that. You got to be careful. So the likelihood of detention increases with reefer loads than more so than dry van loads. So should we look to see review of shippers and receiver to know about booking next load for? Yeah. So while your carrier is under one load, and while they're under that load and they're making money for that load, you want to be looking for your next load for the carrier. That's the whole process of dispatching as well. The driver does not need, if it doesn't say assist, the driver does not need to assist in counting the freight at the picks and drops. The shipping person at the shipper and the receiving person at the receiver is going to verify that on the BOL when the driver comes in after they're loaded and unloaded and signs the BOL with the pallet counts and things like that, if there's anything damaged, any claims or anything like that. So, yeah. All good questions. Oh, Gigi said, should we look to see review of shippers and receiver to know about booking the next load for the carrier? Yeah. The factoring company reviews the brokers to see if they pay on time and if there's any red flags, but the dispatcher, you should be looking for your carrier's next load. And I would start with the same broker that you booked this load from. Just ask them, do you have anything coming out of there? That way you can get them either back to where they were to another load or to a different location for another load as well. Or then you start looking on the load boards for the spot market. What's called spot market loads. So, okay. So now you guys are starting to catch. So let's switch this up a little bit. So we did a dry van, we did a reefer. Now I'm going to stay in Atlanta, and let's edit this. And now the third equipment type, let's change it to flatbed. Okay, so it says no. I heard that. So are known to take a long time to load and unload to make sure that they can make it on time. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. So if it gets to a point where your carrier is realizing that it's taking longer than expected, of course, he's going to reach out to you, then you reach out to the broker, or your carrier reaches out to the broker. Especially if you have another load that you're trying to make it to within a certain amount of deadhead time. So say you're under one load and it's taking longer than expected to get offloaded. You assume that it's going to take 2, maybe 3 hours to get offloaded. It got up to like 5 hours, and there's no way that you're going to be able to make your next pickup, even though it's like 30 miles away or an hour away. Then, of course, you want to call to see if that shipper is willing to hold that load, move the time up a little bit, so your carrier can still make that load on time, or make other provisions. I see what you're saying, but as a dispatcher, you need to stay on top of that, yeah. And you always make sure that see what your carrier, while you're getting your carrier's next load, let your carrier know, like, look, let me know if this is taking longer than expected to get offloaded, because I'm about to find your next load for you within a reasonable amount of deadhead, maybe an hour, within an hour's drive. So, yeah, you have to calculate timing before booking the next load. You gotta factor in, okay, your carrier is delivering that load and he delivers on time and he's getting you offloaded, but it's taking, let's say he's being offloaded in a timely fashion, there's only one forklift there and it breaks down. So there are some unknown factors that come into the transportation industry sometimes. So let's see, that's why I asked about reviews, because I heard that some are known to take long. Yeah, they are. But if you are ahead of this as a dispatcher, then you'll be better prepared for, you'll have better contingencies to deal with those unknowns when they come along. And communication is always key between the carrier and the dispatcher, and between the dispatcher and the broker, so that the broker can call their customer, who's the shipper, and make changes as they see fit. But if, as a dispatcher and carriers, if you guys are not communicating and things happen that are unknown, and it gets back to you as a dispatcher in kind of late, it'll be a challenge for you to try to make it right, you know. So our last example here is a flatbed. So we got so this will kind of bring home the understanding of what, you know, kind of details you want to ask about different loads based off of 3 equipment type. Load details, understanding load details. So this is a flatbed load, and we got some information in here. But, okay, and let's look at our national rate for flatbeds in the Georgia area to get what we want to ask for. Okay, right at $2 a mile. So we're still at the $2 a mile thing. So $2 a mile. Okay, so we want $2 a mile. The practical miles is 538. And it's 539. So there you go. So about the same. So let's say 540. Okay. Okay, Mike says, I always give 2 hours at receiver for unloading and calculate deadhead to next pickup. There you go. Gigi just said 1100 for this one. So $2. So we're going to say 540. I'm going to round up 540 at $2 a mile. So 1080. So Gigi, okay, so that's a good starting point, 1100 to ask for. So it's going from Cartersville, Georgia to Petersburg, Virginia, picking up on tomorrow, Monday, delivering the next day, which is to be done. Okay, so you would need the times now. You got to pick up dates, but you need to pick up, you got to pick up and delivery dates, but you need also the times for those, right? We know it's a flatbed, it's one load. We want to know what the commodity is. That'll be something we ask for. We got the weight, 42.8. Flatbeds can go up to about 46 to 48,000. It's a truckload, but is it 48 or is it 53-foot flatbed? We need to know that. So, yep, going up in the weight, we use more fuel. Good point, Gigi. Going up and the weight will use more fuel. Right, it's going from south to north. 0 stops, so it's just 1 and 1. Now, down in the special instructions, too, you see it says tarp. So this is a tarp load. So your carrier needs to have a tarp for this particular equipment type. This is a flatbed. So they need a tarp to cover that load, cover it up. So they need tarps. Of course, they're going to need straps to strap the tarps down to protect the commodity. So this is a flatbed. So should we ask for 1,200? You certainly can. You can ask for whatever you want. But, you know, you want to be reasonable because, you know, if you may over-ask, then the broker will say, oh, no. But 1,200 seems, that's fair because it's a tarp load now, so tarp requires labor. Your carrier is going to have to get up on that flatbed. You're going to have to sling that tarp over on the other side, loop it over, loop the straps over, strap it in, strap it down. That takes time, you know. So 1,200 is reasonable. So now you say 1,200 at 540. Right. So now the question is with the tarps. So what Ms. Ruth is saying right here, 4, 6, or 8 feet drops. That's the length of the tarps. You got 4-foot drops, 6-foot drops, and 8-foot drop tarps. So when they say tarps in the special instructions down here, then you would ask the broker, and the broker will see that you understand that too, and your carrier sees that you understand that. Okay, these tarps, you need 4-foot, 6-foot, or 8-foot drops, and your broker's going to say, well, if you got a broker that say, what are you talking about? Then you know, wait a minute, the broker don't even know what time. But are the tarps, are they dropping 4-foot, 8-foot, or 6-foot drop tarps? The distance, you know, and then the drops from on either side. If you add the two lengths on the side, it's going to add up to either 6 feet, 8 feet, or 4 feet. So that's a good question to ask too. And with labor, how long is the load? Because how long it's going to take them to tarp that load at 4, 6, or 8-foot drops will be something to negotiate as well. What would be a good rate to ask for hauling heavy machinery? Well, it depends on how much that machinery weighs, the equipment type for that weight, but it's definitely going to be higher. Depends on if it's oversized or over width, whether you're going to need flags, pilot cars. So there are certain circumstances that you need to consider when you're dealing with heavy hauling equipment. Flatbed, Mike said flatbed, I usually start with nothing less than $3.50 a mile, permits and pilot cars. Right, you need flags, you need permits, pilot cars, depending on the length of it or the width of it, what's required of it determines your starting point in negotiations. Mike starts at less. His minimum is $3.50 a mile on the heavy stuff. So again, remember the basics: the 3 equipment types, the dry vans, flatbeds, reefers, and then getting the understanding of what the national rates are for those to get you a good starting point, and then checking out the load details on the load board. Not every load board has all the details that you need for that load for you to communicate to your carrier. That is why you as the dispatcher, you would ask those questions to the broker. I'm going to update the load details cheat sheet with more thorough questions to ask the brokers, and I'm going to categorize it based off of the 3 equipment types, because each equipment type has certain, in addition to the standard questions you would ask, you know, what's the weight, what's the commodity, where is it picking up, what time, was delivered to what time. There are other specific, like for flatbeds, do you need tarps, pipe stakes, dunnage, you know, chains, binders. With reefers, what's the temperature, is it continuous, how many picks, how many drops. So I'm going to itemize the load details in more specific categories based off of the 3 equipment types that we focus on. So even more information for you guys to have when you are talking to the brokers. You can reference the PDFs for the equipment types based off of, the cheat sheet based off of the equipment types. Fair enough? But all this is references and tools for you guys to have available at your disposal to help in your journey as beginner dispatchers. So this training today dealt mainly with, you know, when you're talking to brokers, the details of the load details, what to ask for, the cheat sheet reference in the back office, which I'm going to update, and there you go. Any questions before I close? Ms. Ruth said another question. Let's see. Another question I would ask, is this a hazmat load? Not necessarily for the flatbeds, maybe for a dry van loads, because then you have to put the endorsements stickers on and the placards on the sides of the trailers, and you have to have the hazmat paperwork with you. But your carrier would have to have a hazmat endorsement or a tanker endorsement or whatever type of endorsement to haul that specific load. But generally, it's required for the brokers to list whether this load is a hazmat load or not. So if you have a carrier who is not hazmat endorsed and you happen to stumble upon a hazmat load, you might as well move on, because you're not going to be able to haul. Your carrier is not going to be able to haul that load because he's not endorsed to do so. So, all right. You guys follow that? All right, for those of you who are guests, I don't see any guests. Everybody's everybody here is a member, I believe. So, but for the sake of the training, I will go ahead and just announce it on the recording. If you are interested in enrolling into the training platform, then you simply can go to the website www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com, and under Dispatcher 101, you would click the enroll. You can read about and watch the YouTube videos on under the Dispatch 101 link that explains who we are, what we do, and then if you decide you want to enroll, you just click the enroll. And I've actually lowered the pricing points for Dispatcher 101 training. It's no longer $3.99 and a $39.99 a month. It's now $2.99 and $19.99 a month subscription to maintain. And then, of course, the 2-for-1 is not $5.99; it's $4.99. So I did the same with Freight Broker, and now I'm incorporating also Trucking 101. So we talk about people who want to start a trucking company, what's involved in that. There's a lot of content there as well. So I'm building this up. I'm partnering with people who have trucking companies. I'm rebuilding up the freight broker side too for those who eventually wants to start a brokerage. I have people who have just gotten their broker authority. I have also people who've been brokering for a while. So I got two different perspectives from the broker side. Those who've just gotten their broker authority, who have the challenge of getting shippers, and then those who have been brokers for a while, who have the challenge of maintaining, keeping those shippers, those customers happy with loads with their carriers, bringing drivers onto their brokerage. So that will be under Freight Broker 101. And it's all from a basics perspective. So, and then also to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please, if you'd like, for content, video content, for this Dispatcher 101. You go to YouTube and then type in Dispatcher 101. You'll come across the Exodus Logistics logo, and then you hit subscribe there. The $19.99 will be grandfathered for those who were paying $39.99. I've already changed the invoices because I send out monthly invoices automatically. So I've changed the pricing point for the $39.99 paying. Everyone's paying $19.99. There is no more $39.99. It's not just for new members. It is for everyone. So those who already are members, you are grandfathered in. So you will be. It'll be $19.99 for you as well. So trying to make it. Add value to the platform while making it still affordable. So that is the goal. So hopefully that helps. I know there's a lot going on. in the country right now with the COVID and things. So there you go. You're welcome, everyone. And if you do get an invoice and you are an enrolled subscription-based member, I'm going to say this on this recording, reach out to me, my cell, text my cell or email me, and I will definitely update that and change it to the $19.99 pricing point for you. So I'm putting my phone number and email, if I can type it correctly, in there. So let me respond to here. Any other questions before we wrap it up? So you guys should have an understanding now. Oh, the new invoice. Thanks, I got it, the new invoice. Okay, Gigi. You guys should have an understanding now of, at least when you're looking at a posted load and you're trying to get one for your carrier, the load details and what to ask, and, you know, as far as your rate, what are you going to ask for based off of what your carrier wants per mile. You multiply what they want per mile times the loaded miles, and that'll be your negotiating starting point. And then what determines what raises that rate even higher is based off of what the broker wants that carrier to do on that load. Longer detention time, driver assist, number of stops, anything, tarp with a flatbed. So that even raises up even more. So there you go. But the load details cheat sheet, that provides a baseline for you. This training right here can provide a baseline for you, what we just went over. We did dry vans. I think we did 3 examples of a dry van, one of a reefer, and one of a flatbed, to kind of give you a variation when you're looking at the load board for your carrier and you're calling a broker to see what type of details you want to ask that broker for based off of that specific equipment type, dry van, flatbed, or reefer. So we got real specific, real granular with the details of the load. And we can get even more granular from a basics level too, to even give you more information to help you with that. So as you do it more than one time over and over again for your specific equipment type, it's going to become second nature. It's going to become like riding a bike. And then you're going to have that aha moment. Well, okay, yeah, this is easy. So now you move to the next phase in dispatching of maintaining good loads for your carrier. So while your carrier is under that load and you're following, making sure everything is going smoothly, you're at the same time looking for their next load, because you already know where that carrier is going to deliver the current load for which they're under now. So you could be looking for something within a decent deadhead radius of where they're going to be delivering to and booking that next load. And you do that over and over again, 3-4 times a week for that one carrier. You can see yourself generating something for that carrier, and then you just duplicate that, scale your business with another carrier and then another carrier. Let's say you get to the point after 6 months or so, you're doing 3 carriers. Each carrier, you're doing 2 to 3 loads a week. So Uber Freight, it's okay. It's they're trying to automate, just like with Amazon Flex. Amazon Flex and Uber Freight are trying to revolutionize the transportation industry from an automated AI perspective. Now, their rates, I'm not sure are good rates, but they have a lot of freight. So now it just depends on where you guys want to send your guys with the Uber Freight. So you have to, of course, you got to register. You know, just like with Amazon Flex. I'm sorry, not Amazon Flex, Amazon Relay and Uber Freight. But just like with anything else, you just want to test the theories out. So what we do here, what our goal here at Dispatcher 101 is, we want to lay the foundation for you guys with all the parameters that you need to know as a beginner dispatcher. So when you plug in any system into your parameters, it meets all the qualifiers of your parameters. What I mean is, so you got everything that you need as a dispatcher. So if you plug in Uber Freight, if you plug in JB Hunt, if they give you the results that your carrier needs, then you use them. If they don't, then you don't. So now the key with us, our training platform is we want to make sure that at every phase of the dispatching process, we provide you the correct parameters that you need, so when you do plug in those different companies that you decide to use, they still meet your parameters. So communication with your carrier is very important. They appreciate that and will stick with you, yes. So I still hear from Smooth, and I don't even dispatch for him a lot, hardly any. But we built a relationship. I actually met him several times when he came down. So Gigi says, so happy that I found you. I didn't know I was lost, Gigi, but thank you. Why is that? What? Hopefully I'm doing something that's different. I'm glad that I was found. Oh, I'm sorry that you had a bad experience. Yeah, I want to just give you as much as I can from a basics perspective. So, all right. See you guys Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I think Gigi, are you enrolled? Are you enrolled, or I'm not sure if you're enrolled or not. No more. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah. I remember you. Never mind. Okay. No more questions? Oh, I got something in my eye here. All right. The one with all the questions. Yep. All right. See you guys on Wednesday. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.